Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Veal and welcome to So You Want to Be a Corporate Sellout. I'm very happy to be here today and share what has worked for me when navigating life outside of academia. I'm going to start today with a quick introduction of who I am and what I do, then we'll talk about how I got here, and finally I'll share my top 3 tips for job market success. I appreciate you all hanging here with me today, so let's get started. So, what's my deal? Who am I? Why should you even listen to me? Well, I'm a former journalist and current communications specialist based in Calgary. Since leaving academia in 2018, I've primarily worked in the legal sector, though I've recently pivoted to the cultural sector, which was my target goal as a graduate student. Currently, I'm a communications associate with Calgary's Arts Commons, where I'm tasked to the Arts Commons Transformation Project. This is a $200 million initiative that will reinvigorate Calgary's downtown core through investment in the arts. In terms of what I do, if it has to do with writing or communications, I do it. This means I do everything from developing communications plans, to writing website copy, to proofreading and editing long-form documents, to managing social media accounts and designing graphic assets. Over the past couple of years, I've had the opportunity to work on business pitches for major automotive manufacturers, a historic government grant, and high-impact social media campaigns. In terms of what I do, if it sounds like this sort of thing is in your wheelhouse, when you get out there, you'll want to look for jobs with titles like Communications Specialist, Business Development Manager, and Marketing Officer. So how did I get here? Well, in terms of my background, I'm an older student who worked as a journalist for nearly a decade before returning to school. I did this when my industry was hit pretty hard by the 2008 recession. In terms of my education, I completed my bachelor's degree at York University, where I double majored in classical studies and religious studies. I then completed a master's at U of T and worked on a PhD in ancient history at York University for a bit. By all accounts, my academic career was pretty successful. I was publishing in peer-reviewed journals, presenting at major conferences, and I was even the director of an international organization. So by those metrics, things were good. But, as bright as this future seemed, like you, I was fully aware of the challenges that we face on this path. And for me, these challenges were exacerbated by my age. I'm currently 47, and I was 43 when I was working on my PhD. Given the job market and the rise of postdocs, an academic career just didn't seem realistic for me. Moreover, staying to finish the PhD meant years of lost wages and gaps in my resume that were only going to get bigger the more I remained in school. Like many of you, I had been investigating all academic careers during graduate school. I worked at an art museum during my master's degree, and I attended events just like this one to get a sense of what my options were. After learning that most people had to reskill to find work, I pivoted out of my PhD to focus on that transition. So how'd it go? Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Finding work in the private sector turned out to be much more difficult than I had anticipated. I thought that my professional background, coupled with my education, would make it pretty easy for someone like me to find something in marketing or communications. I could not have been more wrong though. I spent 2 years sending out resumes with little to no response. It wasn't until I completed a certificate in strategic public relations that I was able to start connecting on the job market in any sort of meaningful way. And even then, I had to fight this notion that I was a new grad or that I didn't have the right experience. I found that I often lost a role to the other candidate who had specific experience with that role or with that industry. It was, as the kids say, hella frustrating. So, if there's one thing you take away from my presentation, it's this. A lot of all academic gurus will tell you that you have so many transferable skills and that employers are just waiting for you to walk in the door. And this is partially true. As classicists, we do have a ton of transferable skills. We're great at quickly sifting through data and generating conclusions. We're masters at project management and budgeting our time. And we know how to write because language is our sort of thing. But you know who else has these same skills? Grads in fields whose degrees match the ones listed in job descriptions. Here's the truth. Hiring managers do not know what classicists do. And when they're looking at a giant pile of resumes that all look the same, they will choose that person with a degree in marketing or English or political science or whatever it is because they understand it and it speaks directly to the job they are hiring for. So we're in a bind here. What can you do to get your resume to the top of the pile? There are 3 things that I would suggest that help me find success on the job market, and hopefully it can help you too. The first is that it's incumbent on you to clearly explain how your skills and experience fit the job. You need to be able to connect the dots between your academic career and the job you apply for. And then you need to do this in normal people language. So, did you work on the speeches of Thucydides or Cicero? Congratulations, you're now an expert in political communication. Did you spend a summer on an archaeological dig? Maybe try reframing that experience as something that gave you a deep understanding of the way urban spaces are used. For me, I did a lot of work on curse tablets, a fairly niche and frankly very weird topic, but I was able to talk about how my work intersected with the Greco-Roman legal tradition, and this was a big help in landing some of my legal roles. The second thing I would recommend is that you get some experience that is private sector adjacent. So you're going to want to look for opportunities to do internships, part-time work, anything that can demonstrate you've done the job they're hiring for. The times where I've been successful, it was because I was able to say that I had specific experience with things in the job description or that specific industry. So for example, I worked at a law firm during my undergraduate degree. I worked at a museum during grad school. Employers are looking for that experience because it helps them make sense of you and who you are and what you do, and also demonstrates that you know what their industry is all about. Finally, be open to reskilling. I know you just spent 12 years in school, and I'm telling you to get more education. And I know, that sucks. But it can also really help you. And the good news is, you don't have to make it complicated. My Strategic Public Relations certificate was only 3 courses, and nothing has opened more doors for me. Do something that gets you on the board and shows you're serious about your target industry. I promise it will help you so much. As classicists, we do bring a lot of skills to the table. And the sooner you can start thinking about what life on the other side will be like, the sooner you can start getting those things on your resume that you'll need to hit the ground running. The academic job market is a very crowded place. I completely understand why you want to get out of it. But you also need to understand that things are just as competitive in the private sector, and you will have a much easier time getting in the door if you already have a foot in it. Thank you.